Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Very good afternoon to all of you. I mean, I'm so much thankful to our honorable chief guest, Dr. Vikram Singh, and honorable Kuwar Vijendra Singh, sir, for being with us. I mean, it's such a lovely afternoon. Thank you so much for to both of you, sir. And I'm also I would like to express my thanks to Honorable Dr. Jayanand, Vice Chancellor, Noida International University, and our dear friend, Architect Vijay Garg, ex-President, Council of Architects, and our friend Amit Babbar. He's a very renowned architect from New Delhi, and Ariadna from Barcelona, Spain. Thank you to all of you for joining us. Next, please. Amit ji, next. Amit ji, next. Okay. So just I would like to give a very brief introduction about our two dignitaries who, I mean, of course, it will take a lot of time if I read out their bio, but I just would like to highlight some of the achievement of our senior mentor and our guardian, Dr. Vikram Singh, a Chancellor of Noida International University. He is eminent educationalist and retired IPS officer. He retired as the ex-DGP of Uttar Pradesh. He is a President Police Medal in 1986, bar to President Police Medal in 1987, President Police Medal again in 1988, President Police Medal again in 1999. In 1990, he is also a book record holder in 2014 for the most highly decorated Indian police officer. Thank you so much, Dr. Vikram Singh, sir, for being with us. We also Honorable Kuwar Vijendra Singh, sir, is a co-founder and chancellor of Soviet University. He is also co-chairman of Council of Education in ASSOCHAM. He is a very, very active academician. He has been working for improvement of empowerment of a youth generation and rural empowerment. He is also advisor of Sri Jagdish Prasad Mathur Charitable Trust. He is also chairman of Livelihood Development Research Foundation, Delhi, chairman of the Central Development of Harijan Sevak Sangh, which was the foundation which was funded by Mahatma Gandhi. He is also the president of Center of Education Growth and Research, and he is also the chairman of UP Building and Fitness Association. Next, please, Amit. We also have our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Jayanand, sir. He is one of the very reputed academician, a very great scientist. He has worked in number of scientific organizations. He was also awarded as a best teacher by Delhi government. We have Architect Vijay Garg, the ex-president of Council of Architecture. He is one of the very renowned architects. He has also worked on number of core committees with the government of Delhi as well as central government. He is also the member nominated by Delhi government in Council of Architecture. We also have our very dynamic director, Mr. Neeraj Arora. He is a director of GEM Building Certification of ASSOCHAM. He is also director for climate charge of National Council of Education. Next, please. We have architect Amit Babbar, who has worked all over world. He has worked in UK, he's worked in Middle East, Oman, Dubai, and now practicing in architect. We have Ariadna Alvarez. We already discussed about Ariadna. She is very active, and she is a very good selection for having an international expert on NEP because she has worked in Indian education system with one of the very top university of architecture domain. University. She has worked with architect Patel, who is the architect of Central Vista project of New Delhi. And again, in the last, I am the director of the School of Architecture. With blessing of you all, I would like to start the session. So, Mr. Amit, we will go the flow. You can just give next the presentation about overview of the school. Mr. Amit, next. This is about university. We have received number of award. Next, we have total 10 school and 1 research self-operative, so that combines total 11 school. Next, we recently awarded by most preferred university for global environment to international student by ASSOCHAM. Next, I'll just go a very quick glance about School of Architecture, since because we are doing webinar on NEP focusing on School of Architecture. So just a next quick glance. Next, this is our USP. Next, overview. Next, we want to minimize my time so that at least our expert can speak more. We are recently rewarded by 10 most prominent architecture institute of India. Next. This is, you can see in the second row, this is our presentation to Prime Minister of Nepal. Our student has presented to project to Prime Minister of Nepal, who happened to be an architect. We are from same alma mater, from Chandigarh College of Architecture. We have a lot of international delegates coming almost every month. Ariadna has visited last semester. In the first slide, you can see the presentation which we presented about Madurai Smart City to Commissioner of Madurai, and that was published in Madurai newspaper about our student design proposal about Madurai Smart City. In the lower part, you can see about some of the international delegate coming from Embassy of Italy, and in the below part, Embassy of Germany. Next, please. Next, please. About our participation to Germany. Again, all those international participation. There you can see in the below in the last slide, our student presented to the portrait to Prime Minister of Nepal, which was and that was also published in the newspaper in Nepal. Next, please. International delegate at our school. You can see in the last slide, the ambassador of Mexico. She visited to our school last year. That time, Dr. Architect Vijay Garg was also part of among the chief guests. On the top, you can see also our student with the student of Harvard University, Rahul Mehrotra. So yeah, next please. Next please. Yeah, with the blessing of Architect Vijay Garg, we led a delegation to America. We visited to Columbia University in New York with the Padam Bhushan architect contractor, and there our school exhibition was presented in Consulate of India in New York. Next, this is the news published in the magazine. All the news about the achievement of a School of Architecture. Next, please. Next. We have MOUs with a number of schools. I mean, these are MOUs with the School of Architecture, with the Republic of China, the Ministry of Culture in Taiwan, American Eurofederal University in Yekaterinburg, Russia. We recently signed an MOU with UN Habitat Planner for Climate Action, and that I think that might be the interest of Mr. Neeraj Arora, since you are the director of climate mission. So next, please. We are a university partner with UN Habitat. We are one of the School of Architecture and Planning SPA and IIT Roorkee and School of Architecture Noida International University. Universities are the partner with UN Habitat for the university partnership. Next, please. This is the recent MOU which we signed with ASSOCHAM. Next, please. Our students are placed in number of schools with the architect ranging from office contractor, RSP, Supertech. These are some of the the place where our students are placed. Next, please. Now to talk about the agenda of our discussion today. Next, please. These are the core issues which we are going to discuss. This is my last slide. We are basically talking about highlight of national education policies, where the concern, or you can see the positive aspect of by each expert. I will appreciate if every expert they can discuss role of NEP for shaping architecture, education, and awareness about sustainable environment. Here, Architect Vijay Garg would also like to speak about how the NEP is affecting architecture education, and the NEP and educational regulatory agencies have been a debate in national education policies that except Medical Council of India and Bar Council of India, all the councils are merging with a single body, on which Architect Vijay Garg will talk about it. And perspective of professional about NEP, where Architect Amit Babbar will give his input, and how the NEP will be useful for global perspective. That's what the idea of having Ariadna with us. We as a Noida International University we are trying to sign an MOU with European Union for Erasmus Plus, because as Ariadna knows that Erasmus is one of the very, very active exercise of exchange program between two schools in Europe. So now we are trying to do with the Europe, India with the Erasmus Plus, and what are the ways ahead for all the stakeholders contribute to better implement of NEP, where Mr. Neeraj would like to speak. So before we formally go for a presentation by each speaker, I would humbly request if Dr. Vikram Singh, our honorable vice, our honorable chancellor, and our mentor and our guardian of this university, if you can give your word of blessing, followed by Dr. Kumar Shekhar sir, if you can give your word of blessing, it will be very encouraging for us. After that, we will go with Mr. Vijay Garg, and then we'll follow the proceeding of the conference. Honorable Dr. Vikram Singh sir, thank you so much.
God bless you, Mr. Rajendra Kumarji. I didn't realize that there was so much of virtue in me, but beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. You have mentioned virtues which I don't possess at all, but God bless you. This is a galaxy of international experts, and such confluence of brilliance is seldom seen. I must compliment each and every one of you, and my proud privilege with folded hands to welcome you in this webinar. Respected Kumar Shekhar Vijayendra, Chancellor Shobhit University, most respected Neeraj Arora ji, respected Amit Babbar ji, respected Puneet Sethi ji, and most respected delegate Miss Ariadna Alvarez Garreta, Mr. Vijay Garg ji, Professor Jayanand ji, and of course our own Rajendra Kumar ji. This is some association which will not be forgotten for many, many years. The National Education Policy 2020 is nothing short of a revolution in education, which changes what happened in 1986. India is projected to be an oasis of excellence in education by the year 2030. Starting from the very basic changes of changing the name of the HRD ministry to Ministry of Education, and beginning from the changes of 10+2 to 5+3+3+4, removing of MPhil from the curriculum, the focus is on job opportunities and making our students vocationally oriented and market ready. The bookish and the mere academic knowledge will not be just the requirement of a quality education, but hands-on experience at the feet of learned people like you, who have hands-on experience, who have seen the world, and who have transformed what we can see, what things that we can do and things that we are doing. There will be no focus on a particular language, although all the recommendations are advisory in nature. And look at the people behind and the tremendous hard work and the focus on detail. No other than Mr. Kasturi Rangan, a space scientist of repute, headed the committee. He got 200,000 recommendations from 2,500,000 gram panchayats, and to sift through all those recommendations and come out with an actionable roadmap, that is some task. It is for brilliant young men and women like you, who are professionals, to guide and mentor our students. We have a vast youth force in the country and the world. They need your guidance, mentoring, and hand-holding. There are universities, there are teachers, there are professors who come, there are professors who go. Professors like Chancellor Shekhar Vijayendra ji, professors like Neeraj Arora ji, Amit Babbar ji, and every distinguished lady and gentleman who are here, they are here forever to leave and mark for a lifetime on the hearts and soul of every student. Because the bookish knowledge has a shelf life, but what knowledge is imparted on the basis of the National Education Policy 2020 would be an education, because the first ingredient that they have ensured that every student and every teacher will be a lifelong learner. We will not make and bungle up with mistakes that we commit to make. I was horrified, Professor Rajendra Kumarji, to read today's newspaper. All of us who are familiar with Lucknow would know the Chota Imam Bada. The Chota Imam Bada leased out a small room to open a police outpost. And in that heritage building, you know how we messed it up. We did it up, constructed another room, installed an air conditioner, and installed, I really don't know what kind of a go down, and breaking all the protocols of heritage buildings, architecture, bringing it, जिसको कहते हैं मखमल पे टाट का पैबंद लगा दिया. This is the fault of every where we do not know where we are venturing. XYZ rush in where angels fear to tread. And this, I'm sure, such howlers and misdemeanors will not come about. The best brains, publication, patenting, compounding of the best practices, I think that will go a long way to give a students a lifeline, a students that yes, they would be relevant today, because there will be three things that are never out of fashion. One who is a lifelong learner, one who subscribes to the best practices, one who has immense and unimpeachable integrity. And I'm sure with men and women of steel like you, they are on the right path and on the correct path. The interaction is bound to be fruitful, bound to be meaningful. We are doubly blessed to have international experts who will guide us. And I, along with the students, would be most eagerly awaiting for your meaningful guidance. May I welcome you once again and wish you a very fruitful interaction. There is thesis and there is antithesis, and from that emerges synthesis. All the very best for a very fruitful interaction. May God always bless your path. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. I would like to request Honorable Kuvar Shekhar Vijendra sir to give you a blessing, word of blessing, sir. Please.
Thank you very much, Rajendra Kumarji. And it's indeed an honor to be with you all. The Honorable Chancellor of Noida International University, Dr. Vikram Singh, he spoke everything. And after him to speak about the generic details of new education policy is not much needed. Thank you, Honorable Vice Chancellor of the University, Dr. Jayanand, Vijay Gargji, Neeraj, my colleague from SOCHM, Amit Babbarji, Ms. Ariadna, and all those who are today virtually with us. Today, it is Global Peace Day, International Peace Day. And why I'm mentioning about Peace Day today? Because I believe that the universal values, truth, righteousness, peace, love, non-violence, they all are directly linked with education. What education we were doing since last so many years, that was developing a mechanical human resource. And it reminds me of a book which I have mentioned earlier also at many platforms. And I would like to quote here. A book is there called Teacher and Child. It is written by Dr. Hem Genoth. And I quote, I am a survivor of a concentration camp. My eyes saw what no person should witness. Gas chambers built by learned engineers, children poisoned by educated physicians, infants killed by trained nurses, women and babies shot by high school and college graduates. So I am suspicious of education. My request is, help your children become human. Your efforts must never produce learned monsters, skilled psychopaths, or educated inchmen. Reading, writing, and arithmetics are important only if they serve to make our children more human. Unquote. If I look at today's education policy, which has come now, I take this education policy, that this education policy is making a historical correction. Now, education has been considered as a mean of knowledge, centric attribute, and competency rather than a matter of turning human into resources. Because whenever we turned our human into mechanical resource, they were not having the feelings, they were not having what is required as a human being. And I'm happy that new education policy is addressing to ensure that first, before becoming whatsoever they want to become, architect, engineer, doctor, nurses, police officers, whatsoever, they should become good human beings. And this is one of the best thing what this new education policy is having after 34 years. And I must compliment our team, Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Minister of Education for the same. The new education policy talks about how to think instead of what to think. And especially as the focus today is of architecture, it is very, very much important that if we say what to think, you make this thing, if I will tell my architect and he will make the same, I'm sure there will be a mistake. Now the thing is that how to create the thing, that is very important, and what is happening in this new education policy. And I'm sure that everybody must have gone through this education policy. This policy stands on the formidable principles of access, equity, quality, affordability, and accountability. If we look at these 5 pillars, the complete system, the complete ecosystem of the world, it is standing on these 5 pillars. And I'm sure that this education policy will help India to become a knowledge hub soon. We always say that the future of mankind depends on the wealth they have. But what type of wealth? The wealth of knowledge, the wealth of values, the wealth of innovation, and the wealth of new creation. The education policy speaks very clearly about all those creations, that more and more how we can create that wealth that has to be there. I should not go in the details of the education policy, that what major reforms are there. Yes, by 2035, we wish to increase our gross enrollment ratio from 26% to 50%. Many people are asking how it will happen in a country like India. Then if we look at multi-entry, multi-exit system, what has come there, I look at as one of the tools which will help us to increase our gross enrollment ratio also. Generally what happens in education, that if you want to go for higher education, you have to have a commitment of 3 to 4 years, that I will do nothing, I will only learn. I will go to a university, I should have sufficient resources. I should have money in my pocket. But now this multi-entry, multi-exit system, what it will give? It will fulfill the aspirations of the youth in a better way. You go, you learn, come back, you earn, and not only earn money by that learning, earn experience also. And then you decide to go back to an institution and learn again. So if I look at a major reform called multi-entry, multi-exit system, it is not only a small thing that it will help people to go out and come in. It is going to help them to learn and earn money, experience, and a possibility to continue with their education. One ABC is there in the new education policy. Credit transfer and academic bank of transfer is there. Academic bank of credits, if we look at this ABC, this is again linked with multi-entry system. Because it is not necessary that you did your first certificate you took from A institution and you decided after having an experience that no, I need to go further to B institution. That possibility has been opened up there. This is a revolutionary policy actually. And it will give a reason to the institutions to be competitive, because it is not necessary that a student who has earned a credit from Shobit University, other institution will be ready to get those credits transferred. It means we have to come at par. We have to work hard that yes, my credit should be accepted by others. So it is going to give a competitive nature, and a competitive environment ecosystem will be developed in the country. Single regulator for higher education, as Mr. Rajendra Kumar mentioned it. Except medical and law, single regulator will be there. I asked a question why these two are left. Question is not that why all are coming together. Question is why these two are left. Either it is not education, and if it is, they should also come in. Why it was required? Actually, it had been so much fragmented, the complete education system. So many verticals had been there. You ask those who are in this system, how much running around they have to do. Today you are going to Architecture Council, tomorrow you are going to Pharmacy Council, next day to AICT, then to UGC, and you do not know. Education is not education. Education has been segmented. This is X education, this is Y education, this is Z education. And I'm sure that this particular step will help the country to work more effectively. 1,000+ universities what we have in this country, they will be more effectively working because our energy will not be wasted here and there. We will have one single window system, I'm sure, in the coming future. Public investment has been committed to 6% of GDP in education sector. And people are talking we are -23. The growth is -23% in GDP, from where this +6% will happen. If you look at the words or we read in between the lines, public investment in education sector to reach 6% of GDP. I'm sure that investment is not only what we should expect from the government. It has to come in many ways. And those many ways we have to decide. Integration of vocational teacher and professional education will be there. As I was just mentioning, we have made so many segments and sections of education that we forgot education is education. ज्ञान ज्ञान है, ज्ञान की एप्लीकेशन विज्ञान है. अब वो सारी चीजें भूल के हमने कहा नहीं ये वाला ज्ञान तो वोकेशनल है, ये वाला आर्किटेक्ट के लिए है, ये इसके लिए है. So somewhere everything was so confusing that now it will change. Some of the best thing what I feel are there. One is National Educational Technology Forum. In last 5-6 months, we all have realized the importance of technology. Suddenly, when there was no platform, our teachers, they did wonders. I must salute everybody, all of you. No training was there, formal training, neither a proper infrastructure was there, but within weeks, within days, everybody was a Corona warrior, a Corona teacher. Digitally we were teaching. Then people were talking about digital divide. People were talking, no, infrastructure is not there. From where it will happen, there are 50%, 40%, 30% students, those who are coming from rural areas, they do not have infrastructure, they do not have devices or internet connectivity. I am sure that this National Educational Technology Forum is going to address it. From last many years, I am advocating about a national knowledge grid. As there are electrical grids, I always talk about a national knowledge grid. If you look at this education policy, it is talking about employment, it is talking about integration, it is talking about your relations with the industry. It should be developed, and industry academia interface should be there. But what I wish, and I am talking, and on this platform also, I will take an opportunity to speak about that academia interface has to be there. We have to understand industry will come, our boys and girls, when they will be good. And I'm happy that our alumni are working globally. And it's not only with Shobit University, it must be with Noida International University, it must be with many of the universities. But we have to come together, that national knowledge grid we have to make, what is missing in this national education policy. Because 1,000+ universities in this country, I'm sure every university must be having at least one good practice. It means 1,000+ good practices are there in our higher education ecosystem. If we come together, we develop platforms to discuss, to share not only ideas, not only sitting on webinars, but we give opportunity to our students also to go and use infrastructure of each other. Whenever we are not using it, it will change the complete scenario. About research, a lot of things have been talked about in new education policy. Research has to happen, and universities and faculty members, they are known by research only. That is the only way, that is your visiting card actually. And we have to see, especially those who are regulators, those who are running the universities, that our focus should not be only on the impact factor of the research. Our focus should be on the social impact of our research also. And especially in architecture when we talk about. So many research papers are coming. And if those research papers are helping our local infrastructure to become better, if the research paper speaks that how to avoid these jams on the roads of Delhi, this is an architectural solution. That will be better instead of writing papers maybe with impact factor 7, 8, 9. And talking, yes, university has done a wonderful job. Our responsibility is different because we are not practicing architect, we are not practicing lawyers, we are not practicing engineers till we are there in educational system. We are actually creating new generation, and that generation has to be given all these things. One thing we have to remember, because every time people say how it will happen. And it reminds me of a speech of Honorable Prime Minister. However, he was not speaking about education policy that time. But when somebody asked that in current scenarios, how the change can come, so he said that there are 5 vowels in English language. So he used them. He said A is adaptability. And I'm using them in our new education policy also. We have to adapt to the new education system. We have to ensure that whatever was there, what Dr. Vikram Singh was mentioning, throughout life we have to be learner. We have to ensure that from teaching to learning we have to go. A core learning journey has to start where our teachers will become learners. As we all are learning nowadays, when you call us on webinar, initially it was Zoom, then something else, and today when Neeraj told me, sir, it is a new platform, so I had to learn it. And that learning has to happen every day. So Honorable Prime Minister said that A is adaptability. If you want to remain successful, if you want to contribute, you have to learn that adaptability. E is efficiency. Efficiency is not your credentials, that these degrees I have, these are my credentials. That is your credibility actually. How efficient you are, and efficiency has to be checked every time. As we check internet's speed every time, how efficient my internet is today. We have to check that efficiency of our teaching, of learning, of what new creation is happening every day. Because everyday systems are changing. I is inclusivity. We have to be very inclusive, as I mentioned. We cannot become island of excellence. We have to be center of excellence connected to the mainland. There are many institutions in India also. They are as good as Island of Excellence. They do not know. Nobody knows about them with their high walls. What is happening there? Once in a year, they will just send a news to the newspaper, my boy got 1 crore rupees package. It is not the contribution. You have to see that what is happening. You have to connect yourself that inclusivity has to be. O is opportunity. We have to look forward for new opportunities to learn new things. I'm happy that today we have somebody sitting with us from Barcelona. We will learn something new from her. What is happening there in their country? And this thing has to be there. This attitude has to be there. And U is universalization. We cannot remain Kopandu. We have to see what are the best practices everywhere in the world. And those best practices we have to bring to our universities. And I'm sure once these changes, this culture will bring new education policy, this new education policy 2020, it will become a wonderful platform to bring the change. We have to remember it is just a vision document. We all have to execute it. On implementation, we have not to wait for somebody that somebody will come and they will implement it for us. Nobody is going to come. We all have to bring that change and remember it is a cultural change. So we have to go slow to reach fast. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. I mean, you have really raised a very, very important point, and I'm very glad that when we have a visionary educationalist like you, Dr. Vikram Singh, I mean, our Indian education system is in right hands, sir. I must say. I would also request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Jayanand, sir. I mean, what should I say about him? He is the man with one thing always on his face, a smile and positivity. I believe that I'm so blessed, Dr. Jayanand, sir, that I'm working under you. I mean, you just see his face and your all tension goes away. I welcome Dr. Jayanand just to give you your thought about NEP, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Narendra. First of all, pranam to both the chancellors, Professor Vikram Singh, Kumar Saab, and Vijay Garg Saab, Amit Babbar Saab, Neeraj ji, and the international expert. Today we all are here to discuss upon the new educational policy. And we can see this has been formulated in such a way that employability of youth will be improved, as I do feel. But it is having certain characteristics. What characteristics? If you see the insights of the policy, it is having PARAKH, P-R-A-K-H. P for performance, we have to perform, we have to go for the good assessment, we have to go for review, we have to go for the good analysis, and we have to have the holistic approach. Then after, we can justify the new education policy. I have to give the brief of new education policy as said by the moderator. We all know that it is having multiple entry and exit in the undergraduate program. Means in the first year, if you want to exit, you may go with the certificate program. Then after in the second year, you may go with the diploma program. Then after third year, you may go with the degree. And if you go after fourth year, then you will have the research experience that is very much crucial. So with this kind of research approach with the UG program will enhance the research capacity of the country. And because of this, I would not say it is non-worthy, but it was an extra program earlier. AMPhil was removed. As I did AMPhil in my career, there was no any significance because I have done after that the PhD. So the 2 years are saved with the newcomers. Then after, a number of things have been mentioned in the new education policy. Means if we see the IIT Madras, IIT Kharagpur, they are having not only the engineering program, they are having other programs also like humanities, management, and now they are having the medical schools even in the engineering college. So all the standalone higher educations will be adopting the multidisciplinary approach. That will enhance. Why? Because if the engineering student wants to go for economics side, or if he or she is having the interest in economics, they may pursue their interest in BTech or MTech program with the economics also. So it is good for the education because with the technical knowledge, the student will be following his own passion also. That is good. Even music, if I am having the if I am the fond of music, I may pursue the career in the music without changing my stream. That is very good. Apart from that, it's a good decision that uh, international universities also may join us, the top ranker university, not the universities of any country, the top countries, top basically very high ranked institutions will be joining in the country. So our competency will be improved. And that is, as said by Honorable Chancellor Professor, that the new regulator, HECI, Higher Education Council of India, will be there. And it is not having, as he said, BCI and MCI. But even then, if you see, engineering, education, all the councils, even architectural councils will be coming in this forum. So what will happen if education norm? We all know that we are the educationists, and there are certain norms for the education, and that norms will be followed by every stream. It is not necessary, as Kumar Saab told, that means the legal and the medical professions are not having the education. So somewhere the same characteristics to be followed by all the programs. Apart from that, I do feel that this NEP, the new education policy, will stress on not only the output but outcome based. So outcome of the program, outcome of the education will be there. That is also good. R&D of the country will be improved because of National Research Foundation. National Research Foundation will be overseeing the development of research. What is happening today, we are very much isolated in the research. If some organization is doing something good, another organization is doing something good, but they are not collaborated each other. So, like I speak in different platform that why not all of us put our infrastructure, put our excellence together so that the students or the future generation will be benefited. Apart from that, national education, a new education policy will having the National Education Technical Forum. That is also good in education policy, that will also see the public as well as they will take the suggestions of the public also, the alumni also, all the industry also, then after the policy may be updated afterwards. So that is also very good in this new education policy. Apart from that, as we have seen earlier, it was UG, PG, MPhil, PhD. Now only 3 courses are there: UG, PG, and PhD. So it may enhance if the duration of education, the final education is the PhD. If the duration is reduced, definitely the enrollment ratio in the higher education will definitely increase. That is why number of seats will be improved. If the gross, I am very much hopeful that definitely we will be increase our gross enrollment ratio by 50% by 2035. So that is very futuristic and very good in this new education policy. Apart from that, we have seen this in this policy. We have the academic bank or academic bank of credits. So then after, if it is implemented, still it is in policy, the law has to be formed, then after implementation would be there. But if the bank is formed for the credits, whatever the educational institutions are giving, if the certifications are have been given or any credentials to the students, if it is given, that will be saved in the individual's credit bank. So once he or she approach to a level of degree, that degree will be given. That will reduce the fake degree propagation in the country, because it is already online process. It will be online process. You can verify if you are the employer. You can go to the bank and you can give the identification number, reference number of the individual candidate, and the bank will give you the certification that this person has done this degree. So no more chasing towards the institution that you just verify the degree of so and so. So that is very much good, very good step. But at the same time, I do feel that just few years back, just 1 or 2 years back, we have implemented NAD, National Academic Depository. Then after, if bank will be implemented, then NAD will be nullified. I do not know the detailment of the policy yet, but the NAD would be doing the same thing as the academic bank. Apart from that, the capping is very much important. If you do the MBA, some organizations are asking the fee for 8 lakhs per annum. So that is beyond the approach of any government. So the capping of the fee of even the private institutions would be there. That is very good step, and it will enhance the gross enrollment ratio or even. Apart from that, graded autonomy is there. If you are accredited by so and so organizations, and if your credentials are good, then definitely you will be having your own autonomy. Means towards the administration, towards the financial regulations, you will be having your autonomy. And number of things are there. If I see the policy, the GDP is very much important. Here it is mentioned the government will spend 6%. It is almost double. Here, right now we are spending around 3 to 4%. Now we are going to have 6%. Definitely, we will have different scenario, different infrastructure, different institutions in the country in the future because of the investment. And it is mentioned in the policy that we will be using the technology technology for education planning, teaching, learning and assessment, administration and management, as well as the regulation. But so these days we are also using the technology, but if I give you the example, till date we are very much scared about the inspection of any accrediting agency. Now that part is removed. Means most of the things will be depending on the self-declared, because the technology would be sufficing the matter that whatever you have quoted in your document, shared document, that will be verified by the technology. So it is very good. And definitely the renaming of the ministry is there, HRD, the new education policy. If it is giving the directions to the education system, then why not to having the same name, education ministry? So with this, I thank you, Dr. Rajendra, for calling me here, and thank you all to joining this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, sir. I would like to request Architect Vijay Garg, sir, if he can give his perspective, because he has been a regulator. So he is on the side of a regulator. So Architect Vijay Garg, sir, please.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Rajendra, and thank you, Neeraj, for giving me this opportunity to come and share my views on national education policy, a vital subject in today's scenario, to all of you. And on the onset, I would like to say that whatever I'm speaking, I'm not speaking as Council of Architecture. These are my personal views, but I may be utilizing my experience as an acting president of the Council of Architecture and working with various university chancellors, vice chancellors, and interaction with them and with the government agencies. And Dr. Vikram Singh, I met you in your university. I have learned a lot from you, sir, and your speech about giving a brief outline about what is the inception of NEP, and sets a good background what we are talking about today, and what is the background of starting NEP as a source. And then Kumar Saab, Chancellor of Shobit University, spoke very well, describing various facets of the policy, ranging from the investment in education to the pits and falls and loopholes in the system. And he also touched upon the salient features of good practices, with various universities creating a bank of good practices. And at the same time, he also talks about shortcomings and the contribution from all stakeholders. What I am trying to, I just made a small presentation to basically to put in perspective what new education policy is and what we are, because we are at the inception stage. We are at the stage where the policy has been announced by the government, and there are a lot of other things have to come in, and where we all need to contribute, like Kumar sir has said, that we all need to contribute for the implementation of the new education policy, and we need to say how it can be a better implementing and better policy where we can pitch in to make it successful. So I am sharing my presentation with you. So this is about new education policy, and new education policy outline of NEP 2020 is discussed by our Vikram sir and Kumar sir. And salient feature of NEP covering higher education have been briefly dealt by all of the previous speakers, and impact of NEP on higher education that I'll try to touch upon. And briefly, I'll cover the brief outline of the history, that this NEP is targeting on the basic issues. After 1992, the new policy aims at overhauling the school education, the language barriers in education, higher education, technology input, technology interventions, and then financial support and implementation and affiliations, etc. And vision of the new education policy has already been discussed. An education system contribute to an equitable and vibrant knowledge of the society by providing high quality education for all. That is the vision statement by the Honorable Prime Minister. Develops a deep sense of respect towards fundamental rights, duties of constitutional values, bonding in one's country, and conscious awareness of one's role and responsibility in the changing world. So basically meaning we want to create more humane environment, and education has to play a vital role or the basic role in creating humans rather than robots in the system. So instill skill, values, and dispositions that support responsible commitment to human rights, sustainable development and living, and global well-being, thereby reflecting the truly global citizen. That is what we are talking about, that our responsibility lies toward the whole globe, every citizen of the world, and we need to be sustainable, and our education need to bring in that values system of bringing sustainable development. So expected outcomes which have been outlined in the new education policy is universal access to all, basically education accessibility for each and every citizen of the country, whether is poor or rich or whatever the shortfall. So everybody should be able to, whether there are any kind of problems, everybody should be able to access the education. So ensure inclusive education, which Kuvar sir also talked about. We are talking about including and equity in education. And bringing back 2 crore children out of school children. So we want to bring back everybody to the higher education. We bring back everybody to the school. So we don't want, our enrollment ratio also have been talked about by the Honorable Chancellor sir. Then attain sustainable development goals for attaining children to school until completion of secondary education. Then improvement in quality education, learning, fundamental literacy and numeracy. Then focus on 21st century skills in teaching, learning and assessment. Then resource sharing, school complexes. Basically, we want to create a resource sharing so that we don't need to duplicate. So one resource, we want to make a resource library which is global, which is at least national in the perspective. So one university develops something, the other university should be able to access, and all other students should be able to access, and we don't need to waste time on reinventing the same thing which has been done by the others. Then we are talking about effective governance, separation of power and common norms. So that is where we talk about the common regulators, and we are talking about avoiding multiple regulatory authorities. So the people in the education system, which chancellors have talked about, and that multiple regulatory system creates problem for the people who are in the education and disseminating information or basically imparting education at these institutions. So they are wasting their half the time in getting the regulatory approvals from one institution or the other. Then language is a big barrier, because our country, there are too many languages spoken, and there are people with different language base, and main education is happening only technical higher education in English and Hindi. So this education policy basically targets to impart education in multiple languages and create first time a system where other languages can also pitch in and be made as a medium of imparting education, and so thereby making access for everybody to come and have the access to the higher education. Then common standards for public and private school education, so that there is no difference between public and private education. So that is what are the expected outcomes. Then we are talking about transforming curriculum pedagogy structure. This has already been talked about by my previous speaker, so I'm not basically getting into this. Then college education admission entrance. So what new education policy is talking about that there'll be NTA, which will conduct the common entrance test for all the universities across the country. They will have common education base, common primary education base. So all entrance examination and there will be parity in selection of candidate to an access of education throughout the country to any university. Anybody, any student from any part will be able to access through that common test, and they will be saved from multiple tests. And then major departure from the competitive examination system to the aptitude test system, that we are talking about an aptitude test in specialized examination for sciences, humanity and languages, arts and vocational subject, which will held at least twice a year. So you don't have to wait every year for a particular exam. So you can take an exam which will have validity for maybe 2 years, and then you can use that score and your aptitude will be tested, and that aptitude will be based for admission to the educational institutions based on that aptitude score. So what we are talking about reforms in higher education. So there'll be Higher Education Commission of India, which will be set up as a single overarching umbrella body entire higher education system, excluding medical and legal education, which has been talked about by our both the chancellors and Rajendra. But I may add here that not only medical and education, we already have chartered accountancy out of this, and then we have major three profession, which earlier our education system recognized 4 professions as professions, and only architectural education system have been included in this, even though the Council of Architecture had made a case and represented before the union government for excluding even the architectural education like medical, legal and chartered accountancy, because there are different kind of parameters which goes into the education of these typical courses, which gives them responsibility, and which are basically a regulated professions and which are monitored, which have a responsibility to take care of the life and property of the people. So even though the decision has been made by the union government that the medical education and chartered accountancy will be out, but architectural education for the time being a part of the HEC. So phasing out affiliation means, so the present affiliation system will continue till the new will come into force, and HEC will take over the affiliation of all the courses, all the courses which are covered under HECI, and there'll be independent what you can say is affiliation or mechanism which has been graded autonomy for the colleges, which will be exercised over next 15 years. By 2035, that will be complete autonomy for colleges will come into force, and moving towards a higher education system consisting of large multidisciplinary universities and colleges. So what we were in, when we talk about in terms of architectural education, we normally talked about architectural education as an independent school, and which is headed by a independent person, which are not related to other disciplines. But now in the new education policy, what we are talking about, encouraging institutions will be encouraged as a multidisciplinary schools and institution, which is a welcome step. And I think the multidisciplinary education system in any university or colleges will give an edge to share faculty and resources among the various disciplines in the university, at the same time give them a better understanding about the related disciplines. Then reforms in education that we are talking about is phasing out of all institutions offering single stream to all the universities and colleges must aim at multidisciplinary by 2040. So necessarily by 2040, all institutions need to become multidisciplinary institution to get affiliation or to become autonomous institutions. At least one university in the near or every district level, there will be university set up. So higher education institution across the country will offer medium of induction or programs in local or vernacular languages or Indian languages. This basically means that all the universities in their areas will offer, other than the national languages, this courses in their local languages. So this will encourage people who have not gone to the education which has English base or the Hindi base or a mass base language, so they will be able to access the education in their own local language, and their faculties will be developed, and the literature and the books will be developed in their local languages to strengthen the system, to impart education in the multilingual system and or in the local languages in the universities. Then moving toward the faculty and institutional autonomy. So we are talking about all the faculties, all the institution will be autonomous institution. They will have total freedom to operate and devise their own courses and system of assessment. And but at the same time, they will have to keep in mind and the parity with the relevant system, because they'll be when we talk about this student experiences, etc., then reaffirming the integrity of faculty and institutional leadership position through merit appointments and career progression based on the teaching and research and service, which has also been talked about by our vice chancellor sir and the Kaur Sahib about the research based, basically research and service in education is basically what is he called as a visiting card of the teacher, and that has need to be developed in this system. Then we are talking about the establishment of National Research Foundation to fund the outstanding peer-reviewed research and actively seed research in universities and colleges. So this kind of fund will definitely boost the research in the areas where it is most wanted, and at the same time we are talking of the research which can be used in the local areas and help the local governments to better the life of the people. So I think the research need to be focused on the areas which can help the people into improving their life and improving their day-to-day life and local governance and the systems in place, so that the people's life become happy, and that is what is the target. And the governance, we are talking about light but tight. So because when we are talking of single regulator, we are talking about that you don't have to run for pillar to post to get affiliations or approvals, but at the same time it will be very stringent, so that no manipulations, no malpractices happen, and a light but tight regulation is to be practiced. Then we are talking about undergraduation will be either 3 to 4 year system, which is envisaged that if you want to multiple entry and exit system is talked about, which according to me is a very welcome idea, because most of the people who can't afford education or who have some medical problem or financial or health problem or financial problem, or there are some family issues, they can't continue and they can leave the course at any time and join at a later date and complete their education. I'm sure that most of the students, which as a teacher have also felt when we imparted in the colleges, that some students really struggle during the years, and they leave without any degree or fulfilling their aspirations, and their years of education go waste. So that will not happen in this kind of a system. So this is a very welcome step, that after every year, because what we are talking about, a professional education like architecture and planning will be a 4-year plus course, which will be bachelor's degree with the research we are talking about. Then graduation. So because we have talked about a key graduations issues, in which we are talking about the academic credit bank, which will be digitally stored, which can be digitally checked, and you can move from one university, one institution to the other institution without losing on what you have learned in one institution or what credits you have earned in one institution, and you can take the benefit of that when you go to some other course to complete university to complete the same course. And I think that is a huge relief to the students who are actually struggling to find some resources and some difficulties in that level. So there'll be a huge helping hand for the students who actually are struggling to get resources in place. But at the same time, what we need to do, understand the education for architectural kind of an education, you need to have a parity, you need to have a system where a certain amount of credits need to be driven, which I'll talk about little later. Then we're talking about integrating technology in education. So during Corona regime, all of us have understood. Earlier we were talking about how education can happen online, but these days we are all doing this online education, and I'm sure half of us have cleared our doubts and felt it that is now possible, and we can, with little more invention or little more intervention of technology and administration, and we can definitely develop some e-courses and do e-learning little more effective. And Digital India campaign and all these campaign which are being run by Government of India will be a helping hand. And MOOC courses particularly, and e-content of particularly when we talk about various languages, the e-content in various languages would help various institutions to move faster on this regime, because it is not possible for everybody to develop their own curricular structure. So once e-languages or e-content is developed in various languages and can be shared nationally through digital libraries and virtual labs, will become a definitely a great thing in time to come. Then impacts of NEP on architectural education. So when we talk about specific impact on of NEP on architectural education, so we recently have been notified minimum standards of architectural education 2020, which have basically based on the basic principle which were developed by the Council of Architecture in 2017 and submitted to the Government of India in 2017, that these norms have lot of parity, lot of conceptual engagements as far as NEP 2020 is concerned. But it will definitely require to undergo certain changes in terms of regulatory provisions of NEP 2020. I'm sure the Council of Architecture will be looking into those changes to be made, because what we have thought of the credit system and grades in minimum standard 2020, that is what NEP 2020 is talking about. And choice-based credit system, electives, and sharing of studios, and sharing of electives between various institutions, which has been permitted in minimum standard 2020, is already part of NEP 2020. So hands-on training on 8th and 9th semester, which we have talked about, is again talked about is NEP 2020. And then we are talking about apprenticeship learning, and to be encouraged along with the practice-oriented industry-led approach. And this is definitely will go a long way in NEP 2020, so that when students take a break and work in offices and try and earn something and use their knowledge, whatever they have learned in 2 years, 3 years, whatever they have gone to the college, and go to the offices and learn and come back to the schools and take a degree, I am sure they will be better learned, better professionals. I'm sure this will definitely encourage to produce good architects in the country, and faculties will be encouraged to take private practices and research, which is a very welcome step, because the Council of Architecture has always been insisting the faculty should always be encouraged to take private practices, because this is hands-on profession, where if we don't allow people to practice and do research, they will not be able to do justice to the profession, and they will not be able to impart right kind of an education to the students. So Council of Architecture always encourage that the faculty should be encouraged to do private practice and research in a big way. And NEP is also talking about encouraging faculties to be engaged in the industry and engaged in research, so that they can give practical knowledge to the students. And then UG students could have an option to exit the 5th year degree program and after 3 years with a basic degree. That has been made a provision in the architectural education standard minimum standard 2020, but only with an eye that the students who are not able to complete the prescribed education format within a given period of 5 to 7 years, they will be given, if they have earned the credit up to 3 years, they will be given an exit option, so they don't waste 3 years. But with that, with this current NEP options, now that will become little more liberal and more usable, and the universities can choose what degrees what can be given, and it can become more I am sure the Council of Architecture, which will end up being a professional standard setting body under the NEP, will set standards for good education, which will be more helpful to the people of citizens of India and the students of this country to graduate to, and we will have much better and learned professionals and many more professionals, because this country needs too many architects. We have very little number of architects available in the country. That is why our number is still actually available in the country is still ranges around a lakh of people available, even though registration may be 1.5 lakhs, but the number of people who are alive in practice and working in India are still about 1 lakh for such a huge population. So this is a suggested exit options for architectural education under NEP, which can happen. Then delink educational degree from professional qualification in the from the licensing process. That is likely to happen because once you give phased manner exit options, and the education control be taken away from the Council of Architecture, and Council of Architecture is no longer controlling the institutions imparting architectural education. They are only giving the guidelines and the standards to be maintained. So then in that case, when they come back for registration, they want to practice as an architect, the NEP maybe or the Council of Architecture may be looking for an amendment in the Architects Act through the enabling provisions of NEP 2020 for professional conducting an exit examination for registration. So which will ensure that the people who have gained requisite number of credits as prescribed by the Council of Architecture and attained the competence to practice, they will have to go to that exit examination before being registered and can practice as an architect in India. So that is what need to be coming forth as a fallout of NEP. And as enabling provisions, when we see a lot of amendments in the various acts to implement NEP would be happening, Council of Architecture Act 1972 would definitely will stand to get amended. And this is the timeline which everybody's talked about implementation. So we are talking about the full operational NEP by 2040, and by 2035 all institutions should be becoming autonomous. That is being the most important feature, and we need to be all prepared, and that is by 2025 we are wanting at least 50% of the people to come to the higher education system or become enrolled to the universities and become taking up vocational courses or professional courses, or should be able to practice profession and work in the industry as an professional or on their own livelihood. So education should be linked to earning, and they should be not only mere degrees. Thank you very much for listening to me. These are my brief presentation, what I think about with the NEP effect on architectural education. And I'm sure we have a lot of things in store when the enabling provisions are made, and we'll all see a lot of change happening in as far as the architecture profession is concerned. Thank you very much. Over to you, Neeraj sir.
Rajendra ji, please unmute yourself.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. I'm really very sorry. Thank you so much, Vijay sir. And before I proceed to our next speaker, Mr. Neeraj Arora, I would like to kindly inform everyone that our Honorable Dr. Vikram Singh sir, he has some another commitment, so I mean he has to go. So I really thank you so much, Dr. Vikram Singh sir, for you to be with us, and thank you so much, sir. We need blessing of yours. So Dr. Vikram Singh sir need to go. Sir, please. Sir, would you like to say any?
I think he is muted.
Yeah, I believe. Okay, so sir has said me that he has some another very important commitment. Dr. Kuva Shekhar sir, I mean, sir, I believe that you have some time for being with us. I mean, or I know that we requested only for 10 minutes of yours because I know you have a very, very busy schedule. Dr. Jayanand can advise us whether Kuvarsar, can we have a pleasure of having you with us till the end, or you would also like to leave, sir?
I'm listening to you, and in case I will be leaving, then I will intimate accordingly in chat.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Fine.
So
Okay.
now I'll proceed to Mr. Neeraj Arora. I mean, thank you so much for, I mean, this big webinar. I mean, I believe that for the information to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Jayanand, I mean, I believe that this is one of the very largest webinar. I mean, we have till morning more than 800 registration. I mean, still many people are joining. So, and all thanks to Mr. Neeraj and his team. And I mean, how do I introduce Mr. Neeraj? I mean, he is such a dynamic professional. He's such a dynamic agency. I mean, in ASSOCHAM, I mean, he's one of the very sincere officer I have been knowing. I mean, my session with ASSOCHAM is going almost like last 10 years. So, Mr. Neeraj would like to discuss about how the professional bodies is looking at NEP and what are the ways ahead for stakeholders for its major implementation of NEP. So over to you, Mr. Neeraj Arora. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rajendra ji, for mentioning very good words for me and the organization ASSOCHAM. Thank you so much. And I would like to extend my gratitude, my thanks to Dr. Vikram Singh ji for organizing this wonderful webinar on NEP. My heartiest thank you and welcome to Kumar Shekhar Vijayendra ji, Dr. Jayanand ji, Architect Ariadna, Architect Vijay Garg ji, Architect Amit Babbar, and Architect Rajendra Kumar ji. Thank you so much. And our speakers have spoken a lot and very good words on national education policy. So they have explained the policy very well, and the message given by Kumar Shekhar ji and Vikram Singh ji were extremely very good. So friends, this national education policy is in place now after 34 years of efforts, and the feedback from our educationists are many stakeholders. So we all know and we have heard many good feedback on this national education policy by our stakeholders in last 1.5 months since this policy was launched. And ASSOCHAM being industry chamber, we represent many industries and education is one of them. And we were working very close with the Ministry of Education now to give our feedback from the industry to make this policy. And what I can see is, and Kumar Shekhar ji will appreciate that many of the feedback which were given by ASSOCHAM National Education Council are included in the national education policy. So thank you, Ministry of Education, for considering these points in the national education policy. This policy has very wonderful features starting from school education to higher education and others also. So name a few: universalization of education is there, a new 5+3+3+4 curricular structure is there, vocational education to start from class 6 with internship is there, and it has the provision for 360-degree holistic progress card also. For higher education, the basic requirement which we also highlighted. So the aim is to increase the GR up to 50% by 2035. So it means that 3.5 crore seats to be added in the higher education system, which is a huge requirement which we can see from now. And there is a provision for formation of multidisciplinary education and research universities. We are going to set the National Research Foundation also. A Higher Education Commission of India will also be established, and there is a provision for affiliation of colleges to be phased out in 15 years. And there is a provision of setting up the body National Education Technology Forum also. So these are some good and good features of NEP which I thought I should include. And friends, being a representative of the oldest industry chamber of India, ASSOCHAM, I would like to focus more upon the industry academia bonding. So I mean, this policy has very good features, but I have highlighted some 3 or 4 features which I thought that are more related to industry academia bonding. So friends, we all know that the important purpose of education is to earn the livelihood also. So we cannot ignore this. And our policy has some various good features for that. One is that this policy envisages broad-based, multidisciplinary, holistic undergraduate program with flexible curriculum, creative combination of subjects, integration of vocational education, and multiple entry-exit points with appropriate certification. And multidisciplinary education research universities at par with IITs and IIMs to be set up as model of the best multidisciplinary education of global standards in the country. So friends, this multiple entry and exit, we all know that what is this. Till now, if a student leaves the studies in the middle, he will get no credit. But now it has the provision that he or she can exit, say after 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, or 4 year, and he or she will get certificate, diploma, or degree accordingly. So it is a wonderful feature that the policy has, because everybody, we all understand that everybody doesn't has this fortunate that he can complete his studies. So if he is completing his studies in 1 year, 2 year, or 3 year, or 4 year, he will get something at least. So this certificate will help him in getting the job related to that certificate, or diploma will help him to get the job, according to that qualification, and so on. And we will see the impact of this provision in next 5 to 6 years, definitely. One good provision which I can see is that it has the provision to train our students on coding from 6th class, which will definitely help them to think, learn, and grow faster. So and definitely a practical based and problem solving education will be better than our conventional theory based system. Apart from this, there is a provision of setting up the National Research Foundation as an apex body for fostering a strong research culture and building research capacity across higher education. So friends, this is again a feature which attracted my attention. I would like to highlight here that this policy will attract the youth towards the research, and India is the condition of India, the situation of India as far as research is concerned is not that good. In India, there are hardly 15 researchers per 2 lakh population, whereas in China, USA, and Israel, it is 111, 423, and 825 respectively. So we have to do a lot towards towards research, and I am hopeful that this National Research Foundation will help our youth to be attracted towards research, and this research will definitely help in making our youth more and more knowledge savvy, technology savvy, and it will make our students and youth I must say able to be employed. And one more thing which I would like to add here, that till now this IPR and patents are not included in the NEP. And Kumar Shekharji, I would like to have your attention here. Please correct me if I am wrong. This IPR and patent related to the result post research are not included in the policy. And now as the foreign universities are allowed to open the universities in India, there is a threat, there is a chance that these universities may get patents of the research to be done by our Indian researchers. So this can be a threat. So we should have more provisions on IPR and patent things in the NEP, because China and America, they file around 11 to 13 lakh patents per year, whereas India, it is only 50,000. So these are some of my observations and feedback. So that is from my end. Over to you, Rajendra ji.
Thank you so much, Neeraj sir. And when in ASSOCHAM, people like you, who's so dynamic and who is so energetic and with a great vision also is there, then we are hoping that we will have some more good news to come in the future. Just for information of remaining two speakers, we already crossed time. We were scheduled for till 3:30. We are already 3:39. So I request Amit and Ariadna to speak 5 or maximum to 7 minutes. So at least we'll have a 5 minute or 10 minute remaining for summing up, because we cannot extend more than 4 in extreme, I mean, in any probability. So I'll request Amit to speak for maybe 5 minutes, I request, and followed by Ariadna. Amit Babbar sir, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, sir.
Sir, I humbly request, I know that you are so good speaker, but we will request you all goodness in a small bucket of 5 minutes.
So it's a very easy task for me, because I think with all the speakers having spoken about almost all aspects, I think it's fairly easy to kind of talk about just a few things that I want to point out from the profession, and so I don't have to spend too much time on it. I'll basically touch on 3 major topics here very quickly as something that interests the profession. One is this idea of learning to learn, and this is something that Honorable Dr. Vikram Singh ji mentioned about the 10+2 system changing to the 5+3+3+4 system. I think this is very important because as somebody who's been teaching architecture now for almost 20 years, in first year, all the professors say that the task of the first year is to make sure that the students unlearn what they've learned in school. So hopefully now with us changing to this new model of teaching, we won't have to make students unlearn what they have to learn. In fact, we won't even have to teach them how to learn, because that is the other issue that a lot of fresh students who enter architecture college, you realize struggle with. They struggle with expression, of self-expression, or even trying to understand concepts that are not based on rote learning. So that is something that I think is going to be really good. What is also, I think, very effective in this new model is this enlightened proposal to have vocational skills education from class 6 onwards, because I think what this would achieve for the profession is it would destigmatize such trades and such professions. Because what has happened is that unfortunately in India, people who become carpenters or people who become welders or people who become plumbers don't do it because they are really passionate about wanting to do carpentry or passionate about wanting to do plumbing, but because they did not have a choice, or they fell into it, or it was a means to survive. And hopefully with children of class 6 getting exposed to it, we would have this new class of passionate tradesmen being created, and that is something that I think would be very good for the profession. Then Honorable Kuar Shekhar ji mentioned this idea about the exit and the exit at 1 year, getting certificates, diplomas, bachelors. I think that is also going to be something that would drastically change the profession, because this would enable different categories of people to operate in this entire professional universe that we have. As of today, we are training everybody who comes into architecture school to be doing exactly the same thing. All architects are trained to be architects of the same type. We are all design architects. We are all architects who are taught how to be prima donnas, who are taught how to be these master creators. But allowing people to exit at different levels, I think, would create the kind of diversity that is going to be extremely important going forward, especially with the way the profession is changing. And the third point, and the last point I want to talk about, is this idea of the multidisciplinary depth that Vijay Garg mentioned about the floating credit system or the academic bank of credits. This, I think, is very important because as a student who just freshly graduates from architecture, and then you take an interview with one of these students and you ask them what their passion is, their passions will be architecture and then Facebook. And there is nothing beyond that. And that is extremely sad. So I hope that in future we are going to have people we're going to have architects who are going to be interested in fine arts, who've done an advanced course in music, possibly economics, has spent a year doing advanced chemistry, and is therefore very interested about how titanium can be used as a building facade material. And these kind of things would only start happening when there is that kind of depth and that kind of excitement that comes through from multidisciplinary exposure, and that is hopefully something that can happen. The last point very quickly is something that Neeraj ji talked about, of this partnership between academia and industry. I think the partnership needs to be a three-way partnership, Neeraj ji, between academia, industry and profession. So as of now, academia talks to industry, industry talks to the profession, and the profession talks to academia, but we have absolutely no profession where all three of these talk to each other. And the minute we start doing that, when material manufacturers and big corporates talk to the architects and to the professionals and to academia and universities, and we can synergize and complement each other, that's when I think the real magic is going to happen. And hopefully the NEP is the first step in that direction. And thank you everybody for your patience. Thanks.
Thank you, Amit sir. I mean, thank you so much for a very brief discussion. And you raised one very important point, which I am tempted to comment on it, that architects are multidimensional. I mean, they are exposed to fine art or music and all. We know some of our celebrity, like Mr. Ratan Tata, Aishwarya Rai, Ramo Fernandez, Ritesh Deshmukh. These are the people who are trained as an architect, who are graduate. I remember just last weekend only I was talking to this Bollywood actor, the Ritesh Deshmukh, who is an architect by qualification. And he was talking about that, though I am acting from last 20 years, but architecture practice I cannot forget. He still has an office, and architecture is still his passion, though I mean he's a very successful actor. So yes, I mean, architects need to be passionate, not only the architects are graduate. I fully agree with you. Now, before I go to our last speaker, Ariadna, I would like to mention one of the experience what we had with when Mr. Vijay Garg and myself, when we were interacting with the architects in Washington, DC, I believe. Vijay sir, you might be remembering when we had a meeting with NCARB about, this equating of Indian qualification with American qualification. That is always the problem. I mean, we were discussing, Dr. Jayanand was discussing about the graduation being 3-year or 4-year. We all know that a 3-year education is not valid in America or in per se in Europe. So there's always the challenge about how Indian qualifications are being accepted in West, or how the Western qualifications are being accepted in East. We have Ariadna, I mean, as I said in the beginning, she is an architect. She also worked in Indian education system. She also worked with the great architect Vimal Patel, who is the architect of Central Vista in Delhi. So I will request if Ariadna can share your presentation, and then followed by I will have some question with you also. If you can also, Ariadna, if you can comment on the issue about this education system of Erasmus, and to another important point about this Bologna Convention of European education system. So Ariadna, you have big task, but you have 5 minutes only. Ariadna, you need to unmute your mic. No, you need to unmute your mic. Ariadna, we can't hear you. No, we can't hear you.
Amit, please check.
Ariadna, we can't hear you.
Yes, hello,
Now.
Okay, now, sorry. Yes, okay, I don't know what happened. Hello, yes, so very fast, because we are running out of time. And also, I think after all these panelists, very few things from my side, and mostly about Indian education, because this is a big issue. And I am here since the last 10 years, but I think it's not enough for this. Just a couple of things. First of all, my presentation, I'm not going to display because now we don't have the time, but only the approach of the presentation. I just call the win-win effect about education and partnership, because I really believe in this collaboration and this between the university and the industry and professionals. So just talking about the university, because this law is about education. Education is coming from the 3 years, no? But now we are talking about university. So I really believe in this interaction and collaboration between educational institutions and private companies, industries and professionals. Improve the strength of the students, the acknowledgement, also because professions are changing upon the times, and what are you learning today, it's not going to be what you will need after 20 years. We can see very well in these pandemic times. And now, and also about this interaction, this collaboration also has to be related to the mobility and exchanging. So you are asking me about the Erasmus program, and this program. So if we talk about Europe, and I compare with India, the area of Europe, it's more or less the same of India. The number of inhabitants, it's the half. So if you say that India, it's around 1,000 million people, in Europe, the population is 500. And there are 27 countries. And in India, there are around 30, no, sorry, there are 31 countries in Europe, and in India we are talking on 27 state members. So we can say that European Union and India, more or less, it's the example is very good, because we are talking about similar, not amount of people, but the huge, the territory, no, the area of the territory we are talking about. So when I start to study architecture in Spain, in the School of Barcelona, my degree was not valid in, for example, Madrid. And we are talking about the same country, but it was a different state. So we have to, this was the perspective national. So it was impossible in that time to think about having your diploma valid in Europe. So what has done this Erasmus program has given this program has been established and has facilitate the exchanging program of 3 million students. We can say this is about 30 lakhs people, and has been between 4,000 colleges, between 31 countries. This program has put in touch students, exchange students from these 31 different countries, and the most important is the credits. So now if I am studying in Barcelona, my diploma, my credits are going to be valid in all the countries of Europe, and I am going to be able to work in any country of Europe. I will not need any validation exam. So what happened is increase my possibilities of work in any country. And if I think this program, this Erasmus, now it's Erasmus Plus since 2014. The Erasmus Plus is just also trying to not only the education, but it's trying also that the student also know more about the culture of the other programs. So there is also sports, art, apart from the academic program. So if I think the same can happen in the territory of India, I think it's really helpful for all the students, because in India we are talking about a lot of different realities, different languages, different cultures in the same country. So I think it's has been a very success, this program, and I think it's a very good example about what kind of policies help the colleges, institutions, and students as well. So thank you very much for your attention, and also thanks for inviting me. And I don't know if you want to have any kind of interaction.
Thank you so much, Ariadna. Now I believe that we have only 2 or 3 minutes left. I am unable to, sum up and to take some more questions. Mr. Amit, are you around? Amit Sharma. Mr. Amit Sharma? Neeraj ji, Amit ji hain kya?
Yes, he is there.
Is there any live question? Is there any question by live audience, sir? We can take 1 or 2 questions. That's it, sir. Amit ji, koi live question?
I think we have not received any any suitable question. So I mean, also we are running running out of time. So I think we should.
Yes. So I believe that, yes, we had such a wonderful afternoon, and I'm very sorry many of us might have missed our lunch also, including me. Thank you so much. I would like to express my thanks to Dr. Vikram Singh. I mean, he is always man with always the blessing for everybody. And I would like to thank Kumar Shekhar sir. If you are here, just we would like to see. We would like to do last pranam to you, sir, if you are still around.
He has just left, sir. I mean, he had some meeting here. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much, Dr. Kumar sir, also, and thank you so much, our man with the always positivity, Dr. Jayanant, our honorable Vice Chancellor. Thank you, Mr. Vijay Garg sir. I mean, Vijay Garg sir had been always a booster for not only to professional to all the education institute. I believe that since Vijay sir, you are there in the council, so we can hope that architecture education in India is going in right hand. Whether it is be with the one central body or it is with the one single body, that is one thing. But I mean, we need a people like you who is visionary. I mean, I remember when we were in America together, you were saying, I mean, that was a very good that you want Indian architecture education is as important as like in America, because in America or any part of Europe you go, architecture and medical are the most respected profession in every part of the world. I believe that you have this vision, and I believe with your blessing it will be there. Our dear friend Amit is always, anytime is available. Thank you so much, Amit sir. Ariadna, I mean, you need to visit us sometime to our university. I mean, for your information, we are discussing with European Union, signing an agreement with the European Union for Erasmus Plus. I mean, though we were supposed to get that agreement in March, but we couldn't do because of this pandemic.
Coronavirus.
So yeah, so if we sign this agreement, we will always have an Erasmus student to India. I know when I was in Europe, the Erasmus is the best 6 months of any professional.
Yes.
So we have some Erasmus student in India also. And
Yes.
last but not least, Mr. Neeraj Arora, thank you so much, sir. I mean, on such a short notice, such a big event. I believe that this is. I mean, we have more than almost 1,000 entry. And Mr. Neeraj Arora, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Amit and all of your team. And I also thanks my colleagues, Sheena. I mean, she was always behind the camera, and Sheena and our faculty, Archit, thank you so much. And in the last, all the students and all the participants who are joining. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.